Welcome back to Studio F. We're on Fast Times with Willy B. We're reviewing Lost Boys: The Thirst. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Hit it, Russell.
Welcome back to Fast Times with Willy B. I'm Willy B. I've got Adam with me, and we're here at the finish line of the Lost Boys trilogy.
We made it. We did it somehow.
We prevailed through that second movie, but a little bit better here. With this third installment. But we've got Lost Boys: The Thirst for our third and final review of the Lost Boys trilogy. I hate calling it that, but that's what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, they do market it. They actually do market it as a trilogy. Yeah. It's a very poorly thought out trilogy.
Yeah. But we've got 2010, so a couple years after the Tribe. Cast wise, we've got Feldman back. We've got Jameson Newlander back and in a bigger role. We've got Tanit Phoenix. We've got Casey Dolan playing Zoe, who introduces some more lore into this trilogy that will never pay off.
Ever.
Director-wise, we got Dario Pinata.
Not Argento.
No,
not
we know
Argento.
That.
At
Dario
least.
P.
Yeah, Dario P.
But we'll start with the good.
Yeah.
There's some things I'd like to say here.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this movie is better written.
Yes, absolutely. Better written.
It has a story that is worth following. I'm not going to say it's great.
No. It's definitely not great, but it has a more cohesive story and a more interesting story.
For sure.
They do a couple interesting things here. And I will also say, if you truly love the first one as we do, and you truly hate the second one as we do, finish the trilogy. Watch the third one. It's not going to wow you, but it's going to give you more than the second one gave you.
I think something I also like about this movie is that Corey Feldman's our main character.
Yes, yeah.
I like the less of he's a sidekick and we're now following his story.
Yeah.
He's in trouble with money. Yeah. He's getting evicted, and then somebody comes over with the master.
Help me.
Yeah.
Help me.
With the master vampire killer opportunity.
And the only reason why that really kind of worked for me is because if I think about his character of Edgar, this is where he should be in life.
Yeah, for sure.
He should be struggling.
Yeah.
Because what kind of professional career can you have about hunting vampires secretly? Right? Like, you're going to be struggling with money. You're going to be on the verge of getting evicted, or you're going to be in debt, or you're going to be lonely. It's a lonely life, right?
Yeah.
So I do totally agree. I think making him from side to main character is really the only direction you could have went with.
Yes, I like getting Alan back. Like, I like our beginning and showing that he had he was fed the thirst.
Yeah,
and that he is now a half vampire. So like there's things I definitely enjoyed with this movie.
Yeah.
The concept I would put in the good. I don't know if it was greatly executed, but
execution
like I said, like the concept of there's this DJ that's feeding people the blood and like trying to basically make this vampire army, like that's kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure. I got kind of you ever see Wesley's First Blade?
Yes.
Very club.
Yeah.
Club.
Definitely
There's some
got
shady stuff going on in the club.
On Letterboxd said this would have worked if it came out when Blade came out.
100%. Because in Blade it works.
Yeah.
It's real fun in Blade. I think it's a great time in Blade, and Blade totally works with that vibe. And this is, I kind of feel like the like not so successful version of that.
Yeah.
But the concept is, this is one of those films where I go, what if they had really good execution of an idea?
Yeah, there was ideas,
fun little
there.
nuggets, but like bad execution.
For sure.
Yeah.
Acting wise, I'm not gonna throw that in the good.
No.
I enjoy Corey Feldman more in this movie.
He is, what he is for me? He's much more likable.
Yeah.
In this one than he is in the. He will never be more likable than the first one, but I did not like him in the second one, but he's much more likable here.
I will say, I'll throw this in the good. It might technically be a meh, because I don't think it's, once again, perfectly executed, but the characters are more likable in this movie.
Yeah, overall. I mean,
Zoe is a character I kind of got behind.
Yeah. I like Zoe. I don't loathe them like the first. Like, in the second one, I loathed Shane. Yeah. I like absolutely nothing about him, and I just hope that he gets killed in the first 10 minutes, and he doesn't, and it's tragic. But the characters are more likable. The writing is definitely stronger in this one. For sure.
And the direction. There is direction to this movie.
There's effort.
Yeah.
It looks like there's actual effort in this. Yeah.
I don't know what else would I have for the good, though.
For the good...
Lighting is a little better, but I'd probably not put it in the good still.
Yeah, it's especially stuff with, like, kind of the club stuff. There's more kind of enjoyable lighting. There's more fun use of color in this film. So it genuinely feels like there's just more care put into this one. Mm-hmm. Like they said, we're gonna make this third one. Let's throw a little bit more money at it. Let's work a little bit harder. Let's make the edit a little bit better.
I'd put the gore in the good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely not bad.
Like the heart punch scene, I thought was pretty
that's
good.
Fun. That's actually a fun scene. Yeah.
The device that explodes and like I thought like for effects and gore it was actually pretty decent. I'm not gonna say it's the best I've ever seen.
No,
but
it's not terrible.
There's a lot of things that were a huge step up from that second one.
Yeah,
which isn't saying a lot.
No,
but
well, they had nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, that's true. You go down.
If this was part 2 after the first one, I think I would have really disliked this one. But also in my mind was like what it followed, which was part 2. Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, this is definitely a step up.
I will say I don't think this was my first watch.
Oh, really?
I thought it was. But I remember, like
you saw some things and you were like, wait, I've seen this before.
I definitely watched just, like, my mom must have put this on after, like, The Lost Boys. Maybe she just skipped the second one. It was,
and it was so memorable. You were like, oh, I haven't seen it. And you're like, wait, maybe I did.
It came out in 2010, so it had to have at least been 11.
15 years.
It might have been when it first came out she put it on or something.
Wow.
But I remember, like, them going through, like, the final rate. Like, I remember that stuff, like... I don't remember specifically the heart punch, but I remember, like, them going through those tunnels and stuff. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more care put into things like that, like set design and lighting and editing and things like that. It's not enough care to make me like the movie or to say like, oh yeah, you guys should check this movie out. But it's enough care that I go, okay, this is for sure a step up from the one before.
That might be it for me in the good though.
I think that might. Yeah. That is it for me in the good. But I got a lot for the bleh.
Yeah, so we'll hop to the meh. And this is realistically where probably some of those things I just mentioned should go. Yeah. Like the acting's probably the meh because there's some decent performances. Like I said, I loved Feldman. And then there's some, that are a little cheesy. I was never really sold on Peter or
Peter's part of my like I'm gonna rip into this movie.
Yeah,
when I talk about Peter.
As a character as a whole, I'd probably put him in that. I'm talking the acting. I'd probably throw in the meh. And that's where like the lighting, I mentioned the good because it's a step up, but realistically the lighting is still a meh. It's not good. But it's not bad.
It's funny because I feel like everything we're saying is being compared to the second one now.
Yeah.
Where like everything we talk about is going to be better than the second one.
Yeah.
But not even in the same vicinity as the first one.
I mean, even not comparing to the second one, I'd put the lighting in the meh. Because it's not bad lighting. It's just never good.
Yeah. It looks like the kind of lighting that like you would get from like a low budget music video.
Yeah.
Something
honestly.
Like that. Yeah.
Which maybe that's the vibe they're going for. I mean, it is a rave movie, but
yeah, when your main villain is a DJ.
Yeah.
Right? Or at least perceived main villain is a DJ.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else in the meh?
No.
So bad.
I'm ready to go for the bad.
Peter.
Yeah. Peter is what hits it for it. I didn't buy it immediately. As soon as it's like, oh, my brother Peter was taken, and you see him being like hauled away in a van and being taken here and there, I immediately was like, no.
I'm not gonna lie.
I don't buy it.
If this movie just ended after DJX was killed, and he was actually the bad guy,
it would have been fine.
I think it would have been a better ending.
It would have been fine. Because what we actually get, the real ending with Peter. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Peter being the villain.
Yeah.
The actual main villain. Number 1 was not surprising. Number 2, and maybe more importantly, I didn't care.
Yeah.
I did not care.
I didn't love the way he went. Like the water, and then he blessed. Like
so. Okay. One of my biggest notes that I had written down was that moment.
Yeah.
That entire final confrontation, and I'd be curious of your thoughts. I despised it. One thing that I hate is when a villain grabs the hero by the throat and raises them up in the air, and the hero is choking and can't say a word, and then when they need to, they can speak perfectly clearly, which is exactly what happens in this film.
Yeah.
Alan raises Edgar up, and Edgar's like, and he can't say anything, and then he sprays Peter, and then does a perfect blessing of the liquid that you can clearly hear every word of, and then goes back to, and I was like, come on. Like, I go, wait, if that's what you can do, well, every time it rains, why don't you just bless the rain and then all vampires die?
That's a good point.
Or like if a vampire washes their hands and you walk in the bathroom, you go, oh, bless that water, and then they're like, oh, my hands. Or you see a bunch of surf vampires in the ocean, you go, oh, I bless that ocean, and they all die. Yeah. I'm like, why don't you just That's a plot device. As soon as I saw that, I go, well, there's water constantly in the air and condensation. Why don't you just bless the air?
See, so when I was watching this, I was like sitting at a score and like a score that surprised me. It wasn't a high score, but it was like I didn't expect it to be this high.
Yeah.
And then it went down a score after that whole
100%.
thing.
I think you made a great point. They should have ended it after DJ.
Yeah, and then they stabbed him through the heart with the sword. Like I thought that was cool.
Credits.
And they're all like, none of us are changing.
Yeah.
And then you have like the brother and sister making out, like brother and sister. I'm like, what is going on right now?
What is
turning into The Godfather 3 on me? Like
Speaking of bad reviews, The Godfather 3.
I'm glad you agree with me on that.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a lot of people that like that movie. I'm like, the incest just does it for me. I can't do it.
That's what just really brings me there. But no, the entire kind of false bottom ending and Peter and how that happens. And then I really do have to say, and I don't know how you feel, but the whole Alan, the Frog Brothers and their little fang check and all this, and then Edgar goes like, okay, that's enough of that. It was cringy for me. It was like, you can do a nod to the first one about them being brothers without doing all of this just ridiculous like fang check. Like they become like 12-year-olds again, like instantly, and it's like, dude, they are adults that have been through like the worst stuff you could possibly imagine.
That's
like,
fair.
Wouldn't they just be like, oh, this sucked. Like let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Like this was awful. Like, but they do all the stupid cliche stuff but him spraying him and blessing that and
it just unfortunately.
I totally agree with you though that it's like, okay, this wasn't, and then that happens and you go crash and burn.
Yeah,
it just crashed and burned.
I'm trying to think what else I got.
Also, it is really, really overtly sexualized in the third one.
Yeah,
that is a big negative that I had with it. I think a film that is. I have very, very strong feelings about this. Like, as not only a film lover but a filmmaker, unnecessary like nudity or over sexualization in a film drives me crazy. I hate it. I despise it. Like, if that's what you have to lean on, don't make a movie to begin with.
So you don't like Friday the 13th?
I love it. But when it's appropriate and it makes sense, I'm totally on board with it.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely fine with it. There's movies that has gratuitous nudity in that I'm fine with because it makes sense for the story and the characters and where it's going. This felt really overtly sexualized, like to a way where it kind of felt like one of those like, 1960s like kind of softcore movies where we're like, all right, we know who our audience is.
Yeah.
For this one, it felt like, all right, look, we're gonna put a whole bunch of like really attractive women in minimal clothing, and we got an audience.
Oh, there was
a
lot of breasts.
Yeah.
And
that really takes away from it.
Yeah, a prime example is Nosferatu.
Yes,
absolutely. That movie is very sexualized, but it works with what they're going for.
But it needs it.
Yeah,
it needs it. It
this
makes
movie,
sense. Like,
I agree. It was like, ooh, boob sell.
Yeah, exactly. You see, like, for me, a film that I truly, truly love, Brokeback Mountain, is a very sexualized film, and there is a lot of gratuitous like sex scenes in the film. But it's needed.
Yeah.
Poor Things. I say gratuitous.
Even Poor Things, I think, kind of goes on a little too long, but for the most part, it's needed.
But Poor Things is a great film. Brokeback is a great film. Like there are films that aren't great films that have that kind of stuff that still really works. Like, have you ever seen Wild Things?
I have not.
Wild Things is really cool because it's a fun mystery film, and you don't know. Everybody's always betraying everybody, and you don't know who's on the up and up and who's being honest. And it has some gratuitous stuff in it, but it makes sense for the characters.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they would use this to get what they wanted. This film is like, okay, they're just putting this in here to sell to like young men.
Sorry to pause when I was answering that question. For some reason, it registered that you said where the wild things are, and I was like, I don't remember any sex in that movie.
You're like, wait, was that the black market version?
I was like, where the wild things did he watch?
No, Wild Things is like a late '90s film.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. It's just when you first said it hit me. I'm like,
yeah, but it makes sense for me.
I don't remember the sex in that one.
Yeah. You're like, what movie did you watch?
Saw that as a kid, and I don't remember any of that.
They covered your eyes up for certain parts of that film. Like, all right, don't look.
I own the book. It's not in there.
It's not in there. Yeah, deleted scenes. Yeah, you gotta get it on
the
Blu-ray.
director wanted to change it up a bit.
But yeah, it's something that is like an instant turn off for me is when it's like that. And this film it just absolutely is so over the top with it.
And I mean, you can argue like, oh, the rave girls, flash the raves all the time, but like even then, like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, it's completely unnecessary. It doesn't make any sense, and when you can tell they're doing it just to have that young men or women or built-in audience, it just to me it's saying, okay, well, in this moment I didn't know what to do as a writer or a director, or I didn't know how to make a movie, so I just threw this in here for editing purposes. Or the classic thing in old Hollywood, which is your movie needs to be 5 minutes longer, and you're like, all right, let's go to the B footage of like the naked girls or whatever, and throw that in there, and it's like, okay, this is just lazy filmmaking, and it's just like, we need to get rid of this stuff. And it's sad to see where the Lost Boys started to where it ends, of having to have plot devices and stuff like that is really, really disappointing. But like we said, a step up from the second one.
For sure, definitely.
But the ending really does ruin it.
The third act alone is a roller coaster, because there's moments of it I like, and then it just like we've said,
it really is. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Wait, why did you do that? Oh, that's kind of cool. No, don't do that. Like, it's like, it's that whole thing of like holding back. Sometimes you just don't keep going. Like, just reserve a little bit. Soundtrack.
Yes, I'd probably put that in the bed too.
Yeah.
It's just for me, like, I get it. The music they're going for is probably, it's very 2000s, like, but that's not Lost Boys.
No,
like,
no. It's like
you've gotta make a choice: cater to the time or cater to the franchise. And they made the wrong choice.
That's it. 100%. I could not agree more. That is the battle that you're going for, and it's perfectly fine to put some of what exists now into a franchise. Like, you look at the Scream franchise, right? And I think it's so interesting is when the franchise first came out, like, cell phones were such a goofy thing. You have the giant bricks and stuff like that. And then they make technology as part of the franchise as it gets later because of the times that we're in now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this makes sense to incorporate it. But like, I completely agree. You got to decide, is this a Lost Boys franchise or is this a techno rave DJ franchise?
It'd be like if Guardians of the Galaxy came out in the 80s and they have the soundtrack that they normally have, and then they made one in 2014 and it's like, Drake is on his mixtape.
And you go, what are we doing here?
Yeah,
this doesn't make any sense.
That's not Star Wars.
Like, right? This doesn't make sense for Peter Quill, the character.
Yeah.
Right? This, like, he would not listen to this, right?
This doesn't make sense for The Lost Boys, the movie, at all.
100%.
And once again, we get, I don't know if it's the exact same, but not a great rendition of Cry Little Sister.
No, I think it's different.
I do think it's a little different. When I heard it, I was like, I think it's a little bit better, but it's still pretty bad.
Right? What I will say is consistency.
Yeah.
Everything about part 2 across the board is bad, and everything about part 3 almost across the board is a little bit better than 2.
Yeah. Not
nearly as good as 1, but a little bit better than 2. Right? Even to the song a little bit better, but still not.
Yeah.
Not there.
Yeah.
They definitely tried harder with this one.
Oh,
they put more effort into it. The editing was better. I go back to the editing a lot. I think the editing was much, much stronger in this one than it was in the second one.
Yeah. The editing was rough in that second one.
Yes, it was brutal. And I totally agree that I think making Feldman the focal point and his relationship to the characters, to himself, and to Alan was definitely a good choice.
Yeah. So we can hop over to our final thoughts then, ratings.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you mentioned it. Feldman definitely, I agree, the right direction and making him the main character. But what do you want to leave off with The Thirst? What do you give it out of 10?
Out of 10, because there's no way I don't compare it to the second one. So in that regards, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Yeah. So I'm going to get, I wanted to originally say a 2, but just in terms of when you look at uniformity across the board and them kind of upscaling in every single department over the second one, it feels like to me more than one notch. So I go to 3 out of 10.
Okay.
For the third one.
So when I said that I was surprised at the score, before our false ending, I was sitting around like a 5.
Wow.
And because of that false ending, I'm going to go 4 out of 10.
4? Yeah.
So like to me, 5 is like a meh of a movie.
Yeah.
This movie is bad. So I'd give it the 4. But I don't think it's terrible, which is when I start to get in the 2 to 3 range.
Yeah. I still would put it in the pretty bad for me.
Yeah.
But I
enjoyed it more than I expected, especially after watching that second one. I was like, oh, I have to watch this.
Yeah.
So, and that might be me comparing it to the second one, giving it a 4.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I there was moments I liked.
Yeah.
Like I said, I liked them bringing Alan back. I liked Corey being the focal point, or not Corey, but Egger, played by Corey Feldman.
Yeah.
I liked Egger being the focal point. I enjoyed a lot of the most stuff, like the weapon scene is cool. There are some decent effects, the heart stopping one, and like, so for the most part, I had fun with it. But think it's definitely still not a good movie.
Yeah, I actually think the ending might have dropped me down maybe in my head an entire point. Like, I think
that's what it did for me.
I think if DJ was kind of the natural ending, it could have been a 4. But the cringiness between the brothers I hated, and the whole thing with Peter at the end and the blessing of the water, that was like an entire point knockoff.
I was gonna say, if they ended it right after DJX and then it goes to the the brothers being one's on the beach and then Zoe and have a conversation, I probably would have sat at a 5 out of 10.
So
even with Zoe, even with Zoe being like
werewolf, right? You would have been like 5 and I would have been like 4. But that ending was
took
pretty
us both
rough.
down a point.
So Rotten Tomatoes score for Lost Boys: The Thirst, 0%. What do you think? Too high or too low?
Too low.
Too low.
What's the popcorn meter?
Audience score 33%.
Okay, so it did get elevated a little bit.
Almost kind of exactly aligned, kind of with how I felt, which was interesting.
Yeah.
But 0 is too low. I would probably.
I would say both are too low for me.
Yeah. I would be comfortable. It sounds too close, but every point I would be comfortable at like a 35 or 36 for the audience score for me.
Actually, you're not too far off from my 4 out of 10.
Yeah. And then for, I would say the actual Tomatoes score, as we discussed previously in our last, nothing deserves a 0 because somebody, at least one person, tried on set, and it's definitely better than the second one, which I think I said like a 1. For this, I would say a solid Rotten Tomatoes score of like in that 35 range.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they both got 0s. I can see why the second one did.
Yeah.
Even though I don't. I mean, the thing with the tomato meter is that a lot of people don't understand is it's not a score at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's the percentage of rotten versus fresh.
Yeah, it's the percentage, and it is.
So I guess
6 reviews.
So I guess 0 doesn't surprise me because most people would probably put this in the rotten category.
But it feels weird comparing it to the second one, right? Yeah. Because you're like, this is so much of a step up over the second one.
To get it fresh, that means a 6 out of 10, and I don't think anybody's getting this a 6 out of 10. I mean, 4 might be one of the higher scores you see on this from me.
For sure.
So.
Yeah, just not good.
No, unfortunately. At least we have the 1987 one to go back and revisit that.
Can always go back to that one. Thank you.
Just pretend that it's the only one that exists.
I'm totally good living in that camp. I think after this, that's what I might do. I might pretend like the second and third just didn't exist. Yeah.
For sure. Well, that'll do it for Lost Boys: The Thirst. Adam, thank you for
appreciate it, brother.
Thank you for coming on and going through the second and third one with me.
Painful. But we did it together.
I know when you get that text and you're like, "Oh yeah, the Lost Boys." I'm like, and you're probably like, "No."
Yeah,
but
for the first one, I was like, "Anytime, anywhere," and you're like, "And the second and third one," I went, "Yeah, I guess so."
It reminds me of like Jaws. I asked my uncle if he'd review Jaws. He's like, "I'll do the first 2," and then I had to ask Rosie to do 3 and 4, and I felt so bad for her.
Ooh, it's like punishment.
I was like, "Hey, I need somebody for 3 and 4," and she watched them with me, and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah, Jaws 4, Electric Boogaloo. It was just, it's so bad. Yeah.
But that's what it reminded me of. I was like, hey, you want to do the Lost Boys and then do these 2 as well?
And I went, sure, I'll have a blast with 1 and struggle with 2 and 3.
Way to ruin my weekend. No, but I appreciate you coming on, especially in short notice.
But of course, man.
Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. It's all appreciated. And check out the Lost Boys trilogy. Check out the first 2 videos if you haven't already. Let us know what you think of 1, 2, and 3. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.
Later.